Hi everyone. Today we will talk about how to make a project presentation and what should be included in it. Let's start with the structure. The structure of presentation can vary greatly depending on where you show it. To begin with, let's analyze in default what should be in the presentation for scientific and engineering competitions. If you are doing a scientific project, then the structure is follows. Research topic. There you describe what the purpose of your work is, what you want to know. There you can describe what hypothesis you are testing in your work. There or on separate slide describe what contribution of your work will bring to the field of study. If you selected the topic of the project according to the scheme that I described in third lesson, then you should look at the compiled mind map and put it directly on the slide that there are such and such works that answer one question, but there is no answer to your clarifying question, and this is your contribution. Methodology. This is where you should detail how you will test your hypothesis. Describe how and what data you will collect and what conclusion you will draw. A standard scheme that can even be represented as table where the first column is hypothesis, in second the metric that you will measure, and third column is the value of the metric at which the hypothesis will be true. The main description of the work is not one slide. Use as many as you need. There you need to tell about the actual processes and results of your work. Tell us how you contributed the experiment and what data you got. What you should pay attention to there. Show that you have collected data not once, but by systematically repeating the experiment on different days. Since it is important to show that your data is not an accident. Tell in detail how you conducted the experiment and how to reproduce it. Don't forget to calculate the errors of your measurement. This is also important in order to draw correct conclusion and simply get a score for this criterion. Make sure that you have done enough repetition of the experiment so that your margin of error is within reasonable limits. Conclusion. On the last slide, describe the main conclusions of your research and possibly plan for its development. We figure out the scientific presentation, but what to do with engineering one? The structure for competition will be as follows. Problem. There you need to describe what problem you are solving. You can talk about how you investigated this problem and confirmed its existence. There or on a separate slide, you can talk about what the solution to the problem should be from the user's point of view and what restrictions there are now. Describe why no one has solved this problem yet, namely you can solve it. Alternatives. They describe in detail what solutions are now, what are their advantages and disadvantages over your solution. Describe what will be the main difference and feature of your solution. The important point is that lower cost is almost never an advantage. The important point is that lower cost is almost never an advantage. If an industrial company wants to, they will make the product cheaper than the cost of components that you buy to assemble the device. So you must have at least some other advantages. Prototype or MVP. It's worth talking about your product there. Use as many slides as you see fit. It's important that among these slides you tell followings. That the created product really solves the user's problem. That is the criteria that you outlined at the beginning and actually met. Next, you need to talk about how you tested your prototype. It can be likely tested by users, then you have to tell that people use your product and they like it. Or a laboratory test, then you have to show what parameters were measured and what values were obtained. It is important to show what the device has been tested in different conditions. If this application is is more about the approach itself than about the presentation, but you must show that your product is of high quality and completed. IT products should not have noticeable bugs and test data on the production, like courses called test or QWERTY. The physical product should not have writes sticking out, and everything should be assembled in nest case so that the device doesn't fall apart along the way. Conclusion. There you summarize the result of the work, describe the main characteristics of the device or service, and then you can place a link to the you can download your application or buy a device. On this we have dismantled the structure of presentation for competitions of scientific and engineering works. If you want to present the project as a startup, then many more slides will be added to your presentation and the story about solution will need to be cut. If you are interested, I can record a separate video on this topic. But for now, I just added a link to the SubSchool presentation in description of the video. You can use it as an example. Well, now we get to the tools. In general, to create presentation, most likely we were told at school about PowerPoint or Google presentation. If you know how to work with these programs, well, and you have favorite templates, then use them. If you don't like these programs as much as I do, you can use Canva or one of its analogies. I like Canva for beautiful templates and the presence of a large number of vector graphics for presentation. But if you, like me, want to make presentation in a simple but your own design, then Figma is the perfect option for you, especially if you also make layouts for your project in it. Let's take a look at the main features. To get started, you need to create background, a slide on which you will work. To do this, click on the button for adding a shape and take a rectangle. Just put in somewhere with any size so we set the dimension in a specific field. You need to specify a width of 1600 pixels and height of 900 pixels. If you plan to make complex figures, then for convenience you can specify exactly 2 times larger values. Next, you need to make this shape white. And if you want, you can make a gradient background, but be careful, because first of all, presentations should be well read. So if you make the background color, make it as light as possible. Next, you need to make a presentation header, in which there will be slide titles. To do this, we again take the rectangle figure and put it in the upper left corner. Now, with a few clicks on the figure, we can edit it. You can do something fancy, but I usually just pull out one point on the right side of the rectangle and get an arrow. Now you need to set the arrow color and add text. Choose matching color. If the arrow is dark, then the text color should be white. If you want a light arrow, then text should be dark. Now you need to group the arrow and text and copy them as many times as you are planning for the semantic slides. It is semantic. If you painted the problem on 2 slides, then it is not necessary to make 2 arrows. Make as many signatures as it makes sense. Having copied the arrows, let's sign them for clarity. Now, let's learn how to highlight the active slide with color. To do this, I change the color of the shape and text, as well as the thickness or lines of the font. Now, let's add two lines. First one will separate the main idea of the slide. We do it on top. Between the header and this line, we will place the main idea that we want convey with this slide. To do this, add text, make it left, and shorten the field. We will also make the font bigger and write some examples. Now let's make the bottom line. There you will post links to the source used in the main presentation. It can be someone's research or just statistics. Put the number of the slides there. Done! We got the main presentation template, which now you have to fill in with your data. Thank you for watching. Write clarifying questions and ideas for a new lesson in the comments. In the next lesson, we will learn how to make a project website using the tilde constructor. In the description of the video you can find useful links, and if you don't watch the video immediately after the release, then most likely a link to the next lesson has already appeared in the corner. Bye everyone!